Hey you! Yeah, you! Don't forget to watch this entire video to find out the shocking reason why one rescue dog waited well beyond her due date to give birth. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon right now. After you click the bell, comment Notification Squad below, and I'll reply to all of you saying thanks. All around the world, animal shelters deal with overwhelming numbers of at-risk animals who would be incapable of surviving on the streets. But oftentimes the burden of overpopulation becomes a losing battle, and resources become strained to the breaking point. Additionally, many of the animals that shelters take in have special needs such as dietary restrictions, limited mobility, or pregnancy. All of these scenarios place added strain on resources such as space, manpower, and financial limitations. The sad reality is that sometimes this means that shelters are unable to provide the level of care required. That is why those who rescue animals are truly heroes. Cuyahoga County is the second most populous county in Ohio, and as such, many of their local resources, including animal shelters, see more than their fair share of business. But luckily, there are always animal lovers who are ready to adopt a needy pet. Chris and Marissa have been residents of Cuyahoga County for quite some time, but they weren't alone. The couple had opened their doors to countless rescue dogs. The constant onslaught of paws and wagging tails made their home a busy place, but it also made their relationship stronger. With more room in their hearts into their home, Chris and Marissa took a trip to Cuyahoga County Kennel to see if there were any dogs in need of foster homes. These trips weren't rare, and in fact, they had adopted several of the rescues from Cuyahoga County Kennel. When they arrived at the kennel, it didn't take long before they spotted a Pitbull named Story. Story was pregnant, and although she was extremely swollen and looked as if she could give birth any day, staff weren't sure why she wouldn't. The couple immediately fell in love with her, but Chris had concerns about the idea. After all, no one could know how many puppies she would have or what type of additional care would be required. But Marissa couldn't bear to see Story live out her days in the shelter. Even though she was well past due, staff at the shelter couldn't find any medical reason why she hadn't given birth. But soon they were going to learn exactly what was stopping. Shelters are a difficult environment for animals to survive in. They are often loud, and the animals being held there are scared and vulnerable. Some recent studies have concluded that prolonged shelter living can cause symptoms of mental illness in dogs. Needless to say, it also isn't a pleasant environment for a dog to give birth in, and many dogs may even have their pregnancies adversely affected by stress brought on by the environment. In the case of Story, it quickly became apparent that the only thing keeping her from giving birth was the anxiety of kennel life. On the way home from the shelter, her new foster parents took her to the vet to have a look at her and check the stability of her pregnancy. But when they did an ultrasound, the vet revealed that Story was actually pregnant with an incredible 12 puppies. The news meant that they had taken on an even greater responsibility than she originally anticipated. Within 12 hours of arriving at Chris and Marissa's house, Story went into labor. And after 6 hours of labor and 12 puppies, Story was officially finished birthing her litter. And Chris and Marissa found themselves with 13 more dogs than they had the day before. Despite the conditions that Story spent most of her pregnancy in, all 12 of her pups came out healthy, and within days they began to open their eyes. Slowly but surely, each one emerged with their own personality, and the couple started to name them. Chris and Marissa waited patiently as the massive litter weaned, but after a few months, it was time to begin rehoming the rapidly growing pups. A dozen is quite a lot of puppies, so the couple partnered with Pitbulls and More Animal Hospital to help with the process, and soon all of the pups were safe and sound in forever homes. All that was left was Story. While they adored her and were more than happy to give her a safe place to birth their pups, they also weren't sure that they could keep her for the long run. Chris and Marissa knew that they would miss her greatly though, and that's when a friend of theirs announced they were seeking a rescue. The family accepted Story into their home, and Chris and Marissa are still able to see her regularly.